Hello, Taos. This is Stacy Matlock, editor of the Taos News, and I'm delighted after a brief two-week hiatus from our education forums to be back with all of you and with our guests. We have with us today, again, Dr. Lillian Torres, Superintendent of Taos Municipal Schools, and with her are Mark Reichert and Ned Doherty from Social Emotional Learning Program. And we have Anita Bringas, the strategic, oh my gosh, Anita, after all these times, but you see what happens when you take 2 weeks off.
You've had it. Strategic support manager for
That's
UNM
right.
Taos.
I want to say strategic alternative learning technique, because that's a program I used to
Sometimes that feels like it that too.
Anyway, we're very happy, Taos, to be back with you all. And these professionals are the ones who are day by day working to ensure that all students of all ages are getting the help that they need and are able to continue learning despite all of the restrictions and challenges of this pandemic. So welcome everyone, and we're going to start with Dr. Lillian Torres.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Thank you, community, for everything that you're doing to help us. We have so many wonderful things to be grateful for. I wanted to mention very quickly that on Halloween, next Friday, the 30th, at the central office parking lot, we're going to be giving out backpacks, school supplies for any family that would like to come in. I will be sending out an email through School Messenger to give you the details of the times, but please save that day. We're also, with that, we're having all of our pre-K and our first graders be tested for their vision. So you'll be able to go to one of the tents and get your child tested. We will have the Lions Club. Thank you to the Lions Club every year. They will purchase eyeglasses and the testing. Everything is no charge. So please come on that day also. With that, we're trying to do a third piece, and that is to have a station for flu shots for all of your children and also yourself. So the entire family could get their flu shots to make it more convenient. We are working on that. We'll be sending you information on all of those. So be looking out for that. Please continue, everyone. School nutrition for your children, breakfast, lunch at every school from 11 to 1 o'clock. And also we have still over 100 bus routes that will give all of your children their breakfast and lunch. So let's keep that going all the way till we go to Christmas break. Today, I wanted to introduce two wonderful teachers that are also working on part-time social emotional learning coordinators, and they're working very closely with me to continue building our capacity for social emotional learning. We have about 44 members that we meet every other week to continue a plan that Mark and Ned will be talking about in a minute. What I wanted to start off with is social emotional learning. What is social emotional learning? Social and emotional learning builds the skills, the knowledge, and attitudes that students and adults need to be successful in school, work, and in life. SEL includes knowing and regulating our emotions, understanding and collaborating with others, making positive choices, and demonstrating resilience while growing and deepening respect for and the efficacy of our diverse communities from multi-ethnic and multicultural traditional backgrounds. So this is something that we're almost finished with this definition, and that I wanted to bring as a draft to the community. Now, our vision for SEL Taos is that a community where all people are nurtured and equipped with social emotional skills that lead to enriched, fulfilled, and productive lives. And with that vision, we have our mission. And our mission is to foster a culturally aware community that prepares students and families for transformative social and emotional development through school and community programs, as we always do, school and community programs. So at this time, I'm going to introduce, first will be Mark Richard, and he is at Taos High School along with Ned Doherty, also at Taos High School. And we'll go ahead and start with Mark first. Ready, Mark?
Thank you, Dr. Torres. Good afternoon, everybody. And thanks to the Taos News for hosting this event, very worthwhile. So my name is Mark Richard. I'm an English teacher at Taos High School, and I was at Taos High from 2005 through 07 or 08 and left for another job for a couple of years. And I'm very happy to return this year. And the background, a little bit of background on social emotional learning is around 2009, 2010. Some of us at Taos High School connected with Dr. Amy Franklin and started going through some training sessions, doing some readings and starting in small groups. And then that expanded to larger groups and then ultimately to some trainings and interactions with Dr. Franklin with all the different teachers and departments at the high school. And from those conversations, the students requested a forum or an opportunity to get together to discuss some of the issues that were of concern to them, that they felt they were missing out on in their schooling. And we had an opportunity. It just kind of evolved out of Ms. Chavez's class in a discussion with Dr. Franklin to create a forum for students to get together and explore their ideas, their emotions, their thoughts, their observations, and then also pull in some community members to share their expertise in various activities on social emotional learning as well. And the first one took place and we didn't really know what was going to happen with it. It's called the EQ retreat. And that was successful. And the kids, the students, the freshmen and the seniors asked us why we couldn't do this more frequently, why it didn't happen earlier in the school year, because they felt it was very valuable to spend these 3 full days together with lots of organic opportunities for the kids to have conversations about what was on their minds. And so that was kind of the heart of the EQ program at the high school for a number of years. And it expanded in various ways, and we connected with different institutions that were able to support us financially, give us advice, and we were able to share out. And when I left the high school a couple of years ago, Ned took over that program and continued that solid foundation in addition to expanding it in really meaningful ways within the high school. So now we have an opportunity. It seems like SEL has been really in our minds for a number of years at the high school, middle school, the different elementary schools. But now we have a real opportunity to start pulling it together and creating a district-wide opportunity. And that's what Dr. Torres has asked Ned and I to work on this year. So as she mentioned, as Dr. Torres mentioned, we get together with community members, some stakeholders, various people with different expertises in SEL and fields associated with SEL. And we come together and share our ideas and brainstorm. And the first really meaningful, significant product is what Dr. Torres just read to everybody, the definition, our community definition of what social emotional learning is, along with a vision and a mission to guide us. And along those lines, the district is going to be opening up a very potentially impactful program with social emotional learning on Wednesday afternoons. So we'll be able to have small groups of students, 4 students with 1 adult. It will be outside. We'll have tents, we'll have tables. And what has really been lacking from all of our lives, but especially kids' lives, is that interaction, right? Because we're wired to be social creatures, to interact with each other, to engage with each other, to listen to each other, to laugh and to cry together. That's how we've developed as people. And we're missing out on that right now, all of us. and especially some of our kids. So on Wednesday afternoons, we'll have these isolated, distant, we'll call them stations, where either teachers or community members. So this is a call out to the community. If you have an organization or your job or your work involves working with people, young people, getting them interacting with each other, listening to what they have to say, offering advice, we're interested in hearing from you. And if you have an idea about something you could offer with a very small group of young people on Wednesday afternoons. So you could contact me at mark.richert@taosschools.org. Or and when Ned, maybe you can share your information when you get back, or Dr. Torres, and Dr. Torres's information is available. If you look at the school website, you know, it's plastered all over town. I think you'll be able to find Dr. Torres. And there's a real opportunity there. I think I've heard from 3 organizations that are interested in helping out, and we'd like to hear from others. And again, the broad goal for that event is to get kids outside, because the reality is some of our kids are living in their rooms at home, and they're inside most of the day, and they're living on devices, and they need some space. They need to move, they need to breathe fresh air, they need to laugh, and they need to share. So if you have ideas about how you might be able to do that or facilitate that kind of opportunity, please get a hold of us, because that program will be evolving here pretty quickly in the coming weeks. So that's a little update on what I have. We'll be meeting with the district administrators and school principals coming up on Monday. And I'm not sure, Ned, do you want to share a little bit about that or other information as we proceed forward?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So one of the things that we want to make sure that we're doing in our role is to have as big of a focus as we can in terms of time. So we came up with the idea of sort of like a social emotional learning 2030 plan, so that we're not focusing as much as we need to radically reshape what we do for young people in the midst of this pandemic. And we have to be nimble and we have to be solution oriented. And that's really difficult for us to do our jobs at the same time while we're reinventing our jobs. One of the things that we thought as an entity in those meetings was that zooming out and seeing as big of a picture that we can for Taos schools would provide the most stability for a program moving forward. So as Mark kind of gave a little bit of voice to, the idea that we've been doing this work across the district in classrooms, like this is the heart place where all educators, I think, work from, is creating relationships with students, hoping that they can instill the best like habits of mind and habits of heart and work that they can out of those students. As much as we've been doing that in a grassroots way, and we've had pockets of professional development, we really want to make sure that this is now a focus of how we train our staff, how we interact with students, how we hire in the district. So it's this call to be a little bit more socially, emotionally focused is beyond just this pandemic. This is something that we just have to do. And there's tons of literature out there that this is how districts and states are getting the most money back on their investment, is investing in these types of programs, investing in this type of professional development. So we're going to talk with just as like so that's like one of the big pictures. We're looking at like 2030. What does a graduate of Taos High School look like? That's our current second graders. If we're thinking about 2040, those students have yet to be born. So what are we doing for the next generation of Taos graduates in this town? No matter whether they graduate from the academy, Taos High School, the cyber school, wherever their horizons take them, what experience do they have in Taos schools, especially within the district? So that's sort of the big picture of the philosophy behind creating this mission vision and really doing the work that we're doing now. But just as like a hyper focus, like what we're doing on Monday, part of that work, we need to assess where we are at with these programs. So we're going to do a needs assessment with district leadership on Monday, Mark and I will jump into their already very long and rigorous meeting and try to get them to think about for about an hour or so where we already stand with this work. How effectively are we training adults in this work? How effectively are we empowering students with this language and these sort of pillars of their educational experience? How well are we monitoring whether these programs are working for us or not? And I would imagine, and I think that we need to be vulnerable in accepting that data. And I'd imagine that we're falling short on a lot of those things. As much as we come at education from that space, it's hard to maintain that focus of that's what drives curriculum, and that's what drives adult relationships, and that's what drives everything about discipline. When we're in a paradigm right now that still is, we're sort of shifting away from Park and the state assessment style, like this is what we value about education. So I have a feeling that we'll find a lot of places that we need to focus our time on, and we need that work, Mark and I, because we want to be responsive to what's going on in the district. There is some really great work going on for social emotional learning programs in the district. How do we amplify that, or how do we recreate that in other places in the district? So we need that needs assessment from district leadership. And then hopefully that is a way for us to start identifying some of the future teacher leaders in the district that are hungry educators that want to get involved in this work. Maybe they're future vice principals or future principals, even if that's 10 years down the line, because the work, we need to have that sort of big focus on the work. So that's what Mark and I are trying to do with our meetings, and trying to imagine like what this district might look like, or what a program like this might look like in a few years from now, not just in the fall or the spring of this school year.
So thank you so much, Mark and Ned. These are some of the things that we are working on. And this 10-year plan, we want it to be systemic so that when none of us are here, the system, the social emotional learning plan will still be strong and moving forward. So that's why we really want to make sure that we embed it into all our classrooms and we do professional development. So this is just a snippet of our wonderful, intelligent, caring, and insightful teachers. You've met 2 of them now. We have another 151 out there working morning, noon, and night. Incredible teachers. In fact, the students are waiting for Mark and Ned now. And I said, just take 15 minutes out of your crazy busy day with these wonderful students. So at this time, you guys can go ahead and go back to teaching. And I thank you guys so much for all the work that you've already put in, everything we're going to go do together. And I really appreciate all the work that all of you have done already, both of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Torres. Thank you, Stacy. Thanks, Anita.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ed. See
Thank
you
you,
now.
Mark. Thank you, Ned.
So if there are any questions at this time from Facebook, I can go ahead and answer, or do we do it at the end?
Oh, either way, I don't see any questions yet, Dr. Torres, but
Okay, I'll be here.
a reminder. Yes, if anybody out there watching has a question for Dr. Torres, or even for Ned and Mark that she can pass along to them, feel free to text a question to me, Stacy Matlock, editor of the Taos News, at 505-470-9843, or you can simply post it to our Facebook live stream right now and we'll ask it. And next up we have Anita Bringas from UNM Taos. Anita, welcome.
Hi, Stacy. Thank you so much. Great to be here, and just have really enjoyed these sessions that we get together. I've missed the last couple weeks, so it's good to be here with you again, and with you, Dr. Torres, as always. I do have a question for your instructors that were just here. They were talking about that, what sounded like a really phenomenal group gathering, COVID safe practices, but just an opportunity for the students, the younger students, to come together and play and talk and engage. And I just was wondering if there's an adult version of that that we can coordinate for us to get out and have a little playtime as well. That sounds fun. I think, and much needed in the for all of us in the community also. So
maybe we can think about doing that for adults.
that sounds fun, meet in the playground and keep our 6 feet distance and our masks. So I have a couple updates from UNM-Taos today. As I was sharing with my colleagues before we started the live stream, you know, I was really thinking yesterday about some positive things that I can think about that have come out as a result of COVID-19. And with everything that we're all facing and the additional stress and anxiety and challenges, I think it's important to focus on where there have been some positive things. So much of what I'm going to share today are just simply some exciting and fun things that are happening at UNM-Taos. So thank you, Stacy, for giving me the ability to share my screen. So I'm going to go through a few things now. First, we're just coming off of the celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, which ran September 15th to October 15th. And we're just about a week or so away from Native American Heritage Month. And then, of course, last week was Indigenous Peoples Day. So through our Department of Cultural Programming, we hosted several events on campus and for the community at large to learn more about the many accomplishments of the Hispanic community and Latinx community and ways that we can be more understanding and compassionate to our neighbors that may be of a different culture or race or background. And then coming up to for Indigenous Peoples Day, we held a really wonderful panel of Indigenous leaders from across northern New Mexico, hosting a conversation about Indigenous Peoples Day and what that means to them. Coming up next week, we're hosting what I think will be a really exciting conversation about cultural appropriation or appreciation, and what is the difference, and what does it mean as we're coming into both the Dia de los Muertos and the Halloween seasons. So this event is open to the public. You'll see on our Facebook page the registration link for that, so we do encourage you to join us. Next, there's a couple exciting things that UNM-Taos has been in the news. The UNM-Taos Hive was just featured in an article, the Siegel Endowment publication, which focuses on innovation in rural communities for high-tech jobs. There's a link there that I'll also paste in the Facebook chat, so you can check that out. And then similarly, UNM-Taos, 2 of our programs, one career services, and the second one was our natural resources program, were just featured in a national magazine for the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, HACU. They are an advocacy group that supports institutions of higher education in Congress for funding and allocations for institutions of higher ed. So we're very excited that 2 of our programs were just featured in that national publication. The most exciting thing, though, is that, believe it or not, it's hard to believe that in just under a couple weeks, registration for the spring 2021 semester opens on November 9th. It may seem like a long way away. Classes start not till January, but it's really never too early to get started on your in that process with your application if it's your first time. And then really spending some time looking at all the many scholarship opportunities that are available. Just with the New Mexico Bridge or Lottery Scholarship and the New Mexico Opportunity Scholarship, students that are eligible for both of those can have their first 2 years of their college education completely covered, where there's no out-of-pocket cost expenses to the student or their families for tuition and fees. So we encourage students to take a look at that. In addition to that, our development office is very busy and has garnered almost $35,000 in private scholarships that are also available to our students. Additionally, we have the federal application, the free application for federal student aid, or more commonly known in higher education as FAFSA. That application opens now as well. Filling out that application is the first step in being able to apply for some of those state, federal, and local scholarships and grants. So we encourage folks to get in touch with our admissions and financial aid team at 737-6215 and learn more about those opportunities. The next couple slides I have are my weekly public service announcements. One, if you've not yet voted yet, when you get to the polls, remember to flip your ballot over and consider the 3 bond questions. And we ask you to remember your ABCs. So it's bond A for senior centers, bond B for libraries, which would bring funding to all state and county-wide libraries, including UNM-Taos, and bond C for education, which would bring funding to higher education institutions' capital projects, which includes $2 million to UNM-Taos for safety security updates and ADA adjustments to our Clower campus. Next, our institution-wide, we have a saying to protect the pack against COVID-19, against flu, against, and just keep our health strong. So I'm sharing some other community things for you all. One is there's a local Taos Community Health Council, which includes Holy Cross Medical Center, the town of Taos, and other local health clinics. They are collaboratively conducting a flu shot survey to get a sense of the community. If you plan on getting a flu shot, why or why not? If you've gotten one in the past, they're using this information to help local municipalities and health entity be best prepared to administer vaccinations, both now for the current flu season and then for when the time comes when a vaccination is available for the coronavirus. There's also information here for if you are interested in getting your flu shot, you can go to this URL here, and it shows some local clinics that are offering flu shot clinics to the community. And also, I wanted to just remind folks that for some time, the COVID testings was restricted to first responders or health or essential workers. Now, Holy Cross Medical Centers open it up to the community at large. Asymptomatic testing is available. They have it available on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's a very simple process. They do accept walk-ins, but they really are recommending that you make an appointment by calling this number. I went in a few weeks ago. I was in and out in less than 3 minutes and got my results in 3 days, and gave me a lot of reassurance that when my test came back negative. So we encourage folks to do that. Next, UNM-Taos is pleased to be hosting Albertsons Pharmacy for a community drive-through flu shot clinic at Clower campus on November 2nd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is open to the community, free with insurance for ages 6 and up. So we encourage you to bring yourselves and your families out to Clower campus, which is on Road 110 past the Armory. If you hit the country club, you've gone just too far, and you'll stay in your cars. They will come up fully masked and in CDC level protective wear to give you and your families their flu shots. And then lastly, you all have heard me talk before about the Enchanted Circle Community Organizations Active in Disaster, the EC COAD. This is a group that's come together initially in response to COVID-19 back in February or March. And our primary focus is to identify and address the unmet needs in the community, whether they be immediate or systemic needs. So there's all sorts of things that we've accomplished and have been able to do through that group. One of the things that we've recently done is launched a new website, the eccoad.org, which there we have compiled a comprehensive list, local resources for food, education, health, social, emotional supports, etc. So we encourage you to visit that site, eccoad.org, and look around that site. There's also a place there where you can submit your volunteer needs or requests that connects you to the website for Taos Connects. And also if you're interested in donating funds or supplies, there's a way to do so through eccoad.org that would lead you to the Fund for Taos. The other very exciting announcement is that because our community has a COAD and that this exists in our community, we were able to procure through FEMA a delivery of 52 pallets of hand sanitizer and 268,000 fabric masks that have just been delivered to our community last week and the early part of this week. The COAD group, in conjunction and participation and support from the town of Taos, we are working on getting those disseminated throughout the Enchanted Circle to businesses, organizations, and schools. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And because we have a COAD, that was made possible, and it also makes us open to be able to potentially get additional supplies as they become available. There was also a delivery for several truckloads of food that we were able to disseminate out into the community, and whatever could not be stored here because it was refrigeration required and we just didn't have the capacity here in our community, we were able to get that out to Santa Fe so they could distribute through their networks, through their food distribution. So I think that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions or anything that may come up from the community. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Dr. Torres.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita and Dr. Torres. So again, if anyone has a question in the next minute for either Dr. Torres or Anita, please post it here to Facebook now and we can ask it. They are watching the Facebook live stream as well, so they can see your question. Or you can text a question to me, Stacy Matlock, editor of the Taos News, at 505-470-9843, and I will ask on your behalf. So feel free, ask anything about what's coming up. I guess I'll ask a question. I'm sure it's got to be on some people's minds for either one of you or both of you. Of course, the predictions are we're seeing the numbers rise, unfortunately, in the state, despite everyone's efforts. And there is some sense that as the weather gets colder and we spend more time inside, we might continue to see an increase in cases. Is that going to change anything that you all do at this point? Or do you feel like the plans that you have in place for education will simply help get everybody through even a second wave?
I'll go first. Stacy, right now, we are in the remote model until winter break. So we have maximized our protection of students and staff. However, we do, as I had mentioned before, we have pre-K coming in to our schools. We have special education students. And now we are working on opening up this extracurricular, but the extracurricular will be outside. Last week it was 9-to-1 pods. Now it changed, since the governor's health orders, it changed to 4-to-1 pods, which is good. And we are really appreciative of that. So we have pretty much maximized all the protections we can think of. We did do 130 COVID testing for our staff, anyone that's coming into the building, even if it's one time a week, if let's say it's a teacher coming into a classroom, and we came out 100% negative, but we can't let our guard down. We're really, really very diligent. We have about 30 more that will be done next week or the week after. So we have continuously worked on protecting our students and staff. And so far, so good. And we don't see any big changes depending on how many cases we have. We may have to limit the pre-K and special ed. But other than that, I think we're doing really well. We do have some parts of New Mexico that are still open. They plan on being open. They're hybrid, they're half 50%, and they will plan on continuing that. But I think we've made the right decision for Taos. So we will just continue being diligent in our decisions and making sure that every child and staff members protected at this time.
Thank
And
you.
similarly for UNM Taos, we've erred on the side of caution since the beginning and made a decision very early on we went remote originally in March 19th for that semester. We decided in May to stay remote through this fall semester. We've announced that we're continuing remote through the spring semester. So as we have in the fall, probably 90% or more of our courses will remain online. And with remote instruction, our employees, staff and faculty will continue to work remotely. And we'll look at the second 8-week part of the spring semester. It's a 16-week semester to see what, at that point, how things are at. And if we can offer some of our face-to-face classes like we did this fall, a small handful of face-to-face classes, and really only those that required that hands-on type of instruction, like some of our science labs, some of the health sciences that have that, like the practicums that they have to be doing their work in hands-on or in person, but practicing very strict COVID safe practices and really making sure that we're keeping our students and employees and the community at large safe. So that's our first and foremost concern, is being able to provide our instruction and quality learning while keeping everybody safe.
Thank you both very much, and look forward to seeing you. I believe we're going to be back here in 2 weeks, correct? Which would be, the Thursday after the election. Everybody, don't forget to go out and vote. You still have time to vote early up through October 31st, or drop off your absentee ballot or get it in the mail just as quick as you can. And so we will see everybody back here on Thursday, November 5th.
November.
And we hope you all have a wonderful couple of weeks. Stay safe.
Thank you. We'll see the community soon. Thank you.